Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, girls.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Afternoon.
Somebody confirm whether my voice is audible or not.
Audible, ma'am.
Audible.
Audible, ma'am.
Okay. Is the document visible?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am. Visible, ma'am.
Yes. Okay, visible. Okay, fine. Now, this is your entire Python programming lab syllabus. This is the updated version of your Python syllabus. So as you can see, there are 10 experiments over here, including 5 case studies. So let us just look into each and every experiment. So let us know what are the experiments that they have given in Python lab. The questions are more generalized questions wherein you can just take any of the example to actually write the answer in your internals and external lab exam. So the first question is write a program to demonstrate different representation of numbers in Python. So this is a very basic program wherein we'll be discussing all the various kinds of numbers that representations that are possible in Python. And then the second experiment is regarding different complex arithmetic operations on numbers in Python. So wherein we'll be discussing all the 7 operators that are present in Python, the addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulus, then floor division and exponentiation. So these are the 7 operators that are present in Python. So we'll be seeing all that. Along with that, we'll see how to perform arithmetic operations on complex numbers. So that is what we need to do in the second experiment. Coming to the third experiment is to demonstrate decision making, which are like your if else and elif and that condition statements, and then looping structures in Python, the for and while. And coming to the fourth experiment is to demonstrate working with lists in Python. So what is list and the attributes that pertain, the methods that pertain to list, like append operation, pop operation, and all that extend operation. So all that operations you need to show that work along with the list. Okay, so even you do have tuples in Python. So again, the methods that are associated with tuples, they're considerably comparing lists and tuples. Tuples have got less methods compared to lists because tuples are immutable. So you just need to demonstrate like that tuples are immutable and all that stuff over here working. Okay, so how do you work with tuples and all that? And in the next experiment, we'll be seeing how to work with dictionaries. So it's a key value pair and all the operations that you can perform on dictionaries. So all that you will be doing in the sixth experiment. The next experiment is to create a module. So by adding a method and import the module in the application. So the question is very general question. They didn't ask you to mention like what is the program all about. But the question just asks you to create a module. It can be any module. Inside that you can have any of the methods, and you just need to import it into an application and show how the method from other module works in the current program. So that is regarding the modules one, and this is like user defined modules. Okay, so there are two kinds of modules available. The first one is the built-in modules, which are like your math module and sys module, then turtle module. All these are the built-in modules. Apart from that, you can also create modules of your own. So that the seventh experiment is all about creating your own modules. And the next experiment, the eighth experiment, is to create user-defined exception and handle the exception in the application. Like exceptions are again of two types. The first one is the built-in exceptions, like your name error, then type error, then zero division error. All these are the built-in exceptions. The other kind is the user-defined exception. User-defined exceptions can be raised when you want a certain, if a certain condition occurs in the program, you can raise an exception, and that creation of how you create an exception based on an application is this 8th experiment. Then coming back to the 9th experiment, so the 9th experiment is to demonstrate how to create classes and objects in application. We already know that Python is an object-oriented programming language, and okay, fine. So I'm recording, right? So I just got a doubt like whether I was recording or not. So write a program to demonstrate how to create classes and objects. So we know that Python is an object-oriented programming language. And the main constructs of object-oriented programming language is class and object. And with the object-oriented principles, those are abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism. So all these concepts sum up to the concept of object-oriented programming languages. So classes and objects make the main constructs in the coding. Okay, so here in this 9th experiment is all about that. How you create a class, what is the syntax of creating a class, and how do you create an object of a class, creating multiple objects of a class, and the syntax of creation of a class, and how do you access the attributes and properties of a class by using the object. So all that concepts will be discussed in experiment number 9. Coming to experiment number 10, so this is to demonstrate the use of numerical Python, which is NumPy arrays in Python. Okay, so the operations, how they are used and for what they are used. And next comes the case studies. These case studies are specific. Okay, so they are specific, wherein you have to solve in this problem. So a perfect number, so they describe you like what is a perfect number, and then they give you an example of what is a perfect number, and then they'll ask you to write a program accordingly. And the thing is, like, they'll tell you what is the concept of the programming language that you need to use to solve this problem. So to solve this problem, you need to use loops. Okay, so this is the case study on loops, and then you have functions and case study on modules. Then you have case study on lists, and then you have case study on classes. Covering all the aspects of your Python syllabus. Okay, fine. So that's it. So these are all the concepts that you will be learning in Python lab. Okay, fine. Right. So with this, let us now get started with the first experiment. So just take a look at the first experiment. The first experiment is write a program to demonstrate different representation of numbers in Python. So let us get started. So let me unshare this screen, and this is Ubuntu operating system. So this is a Linux based operating system, and what I did is I just have booted into this particular operating system. So this is Ubuntu. You can also check it out like this. Okay, so okay, well, fine. Okay, so this is I think you people know this. You people know this operating system, right? Because you people have worked C programming in the laboratories here, and you people know this platform, I suppose. So everybody know this platform, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. Fine. Okay. So this platform is familiar to you. That's what I just wanted to know. And because all the systems here are Linux based. Okay. So they have this Ubuntu installed in it. So well, fine. So this is the desktop, and so there is a grid over here. When I hover the mouse on this, it is telling me show applications. So I just need to click on this, and something like this with various applications that are inside will be opened, but I want terminal. So I just clicked on terminal, and this is what is your command prompt. In Windows, we say this as command prompt. In Linux, we say that this is terminal, which is synonymal. Okay, fine. So this is my terminal. So it gets open something like this. So I'm maximizing it to show you. So wherein I'll be getting a prompt over here, and I need to type in the commands, whatever. So the first thing that I need to do is I need to check whether Python is installed or not. Let me just check on that. So I'm saying Python. I simply said Python. So what it is giving me as a result of my command is it's saying Python command Python not found. Let me check Python 2. Okay. So again for Python 2, it is saying command Python 2 not found. Let me check Python 3. So I'm saying Python 3. These are all the versions of Python. But for Python 3, you can see that I got an answer that Python 3 is found. Okay, and it is showing me that Python 3.6.9 is installed on this system. So Python 3 is installed. So whenever you start working with your lab, whenever you start working in the college, in the laboratories, the first thing whenever you pick a PC to work, the first thing you need to do is check whether Python is installed or not. Okay, because if Python is not installed, you will not be able to execute your programs. So Python 2 is not installed, Python 3 is installed. So it's the latest version and it is installed here. So if Python 3 is not there in the system that you're working on, so then you have to move on to the other system if you want to work offline. If you want to work online, then I think even if Python is not installed on the computer, you can actually use the programmers or GDB compilers online and they'll serve you the purpose. But for the internal and external lab examinations, you are not permitted to actually work online. So you need to do all the procedure that I have shown you. Okay. So this is what you need to adopt to work, to do your internal and external lab exam. Fine. So after I have checked whether Python is installed or not, what it is doing is it is showing me 3 arrow marks like this. Okay, so you can see that it is like a right shift operation. It is showing me what it is called as. It's called as chevron. It's called as chevron prompt. So this is called as an interactive mode, or else you can also say that it's an interactive Python interpreter. What does it indicate? Okay, so this indicates that Python is ready to take commands from you, and once it takes the commands from you, it will execute the commands and give you the result. So say for example, I want to do some operation like 7 divided by 2, and after hitting on the enter button, you can see that it is showing me 3.5 as the result. But the result is not having the chevron symbol, but it is just printed without this 3 arrow marks. Okay, so this is how for the command only you will be getting this chevron prompt. For displaying the result, that is ignored. And it indicates that these 3 symbols indicates an interactive session thing. Okay, so where you can type in your commands, and the interpreter will execute the commands and give you the result. Okay, so that's what is the purpose of this interactive mode. So the other mode of working with Python is that how do you come out of this chevron prompt is you just have to have a combination keys of Control D. So once you click the Control D, you will be coming out of this Python, and the normal terminal command prompt will appear for you. Okay, fine. This is one way of executing your programs, which is in interactive mode. The other way to write your Python programs is to actually use the same old school method, which is using a gedit. space followed by the name of the program. So the name of the program is say add, and then because since this is a Python program, I'm saying add.py. Okay, so here add is the name of the program, and py is the name of the programming language in which I'm writing the program. So it's a Python program, so I said .py. And gedit is a text editor which helps you to actually write your programs. And so it's just like a notepad. Okay, so wherein you can just write your programs and execute. So once I hit on the enter button, so there is a simple program, else you can write the program. Okay, so fine. So I'm saying x is equal to 12. I'm writing a program, b is equal to 56. And then I'm just performing some operation between a and x and b. So I said x into b. Okay, so this is what is my code. Okay, so I'm just showing you a simple code to know what is the procedure. But what I'm writing is not important. So I just have written a code over here, and after that, just come on to the right top corner wherein you can see save the current file. So I'm just clicking on this. So the file is saved. And after that, just close the file. So you can see a red cross button over here, which will actually close the text editor. So I just click on it and the text editor has closed. Now I just wanted to execute the program. To execute the program, I just need to say Python. It is Python 3. So I just need to give Python 3 and then followed by the name of the program and the extension. So it is Python 3 add.py. So as soon as I clicked on the enter button, so you can see this is the product of the values that I have given in the program. So using the interactive mode is one way, and writing a program in a .py file extension and then executing it coming to the command prompt is one way. And coming to the third way, there is another way to execute your programs, wherein the third method is where I'll be using PyCharm, okay, or any of the IDEs by fact. But being beginners and being learning the programming language, I always prefer writing it in gedit or any notepad. Because your IDEs will prompt you for the indentations, and it will actually match the open bracket and close bracket and all that. So here in gedit, such kind of prompting you will not get. Okay, so for example, say this is my program, and I'm saying if so if x is greater than okay, some 20 or whatever. So I want to write like x is big or whatever, but you can see that the cursor over here came right below if. But this should not be the case, right? So whenever you're writing an if and all that, this should not be the case. There should be an indentation, and then after that you need to write whatever you want to write in the if block. Indentation defines a block for the if, but you can see in gedit, like it's not prompting you for the indentation, or it is not prompting you for any error. Say for example, I'm putting a semicolon here. In the previous in IDEs, it will actually tell me like semicolon, it's not needed. Or say I just have started I as soon as I open the bracket here in the IDEs, it also will give a closing bracket. Okay, so that kind of prompting of the programming language will happen in the IDEs, which will actually make your learning slow. But if you're working in gedit, you actually can learn many things like the indentation and the programming language constructs. Like you'll be making less errors if you're working in gedit, because you learn them. Okay, so this is what is your how you need to write it. So in your external and internal lab examinations, which method I need to adapt? Do I need to do it in the interactive mode, or do I need to write a program with .py extension and use it? You have to use the second method that I told, that is this method. Okay, so you just have to write a program and then write your code, open a file with .py extension, write your code and execute like this and show us the result. Okay, so this is what you need to adopt in your lab exam. Am I clear on this, everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, let us, with this introduction of how your lab is gonna be and how you need to, what is the method that you need to adopt to. Let me straight away jump to your first experiment and I'll start explaining you that. I'll do it in an interactive mode so that you can see the answer straight away. And also you can, your understanding will become much better in an interactive mode. But this is not what you need to do it in your external lab. Okay, you just have to write a program for all this and then execute it. You can just have a look into your manual. ఆ మాన్యువల్ కూడా నేనే చేశాను. నేను సీను సార్ కలిపి చేసింది. ఇట్స్ ఆర్ మాన్యువల్ అండ్ ఆర్ కోడ్ అది. Purely it is my code and sir's code, nothing, nobody else's code. We both have sat and written the code. So మీకు ఏం డౌట్స్ ఉన్నా యూ కెన్ ఆస్క్ మీ, లుక్ ఇన్ టు ద మాన్యువల్. ఆ మాన్యువల్లో మీకు ప్రోగ్రామ్ ఎలా రాసానో తెలుస్తుంది. Now let me get into the interactive mode and show you the first experiment. So let me say Python 3. Okay, before this, let me just clear this out. Well, fine. Okay, so this is your interactive mode of Python. Okay, so what is your experiment? Your experiment is write a program to demonstrate what is a program. Okay, so this is your program, right? Write a program to demonstrate different representation of numbers in Python. Okay, so this is your program. So now there are three kinds of numbers in Python. The first one is the integers, and the second one is floatings, and the third one is complex numbers. Okay, any number that you take which do not have a decimal value is considered to be an integer. So let me take an integer value, so which is x is equal to 34, and I'm just printing it. So I said x, print x. Okay, very simple code. You can see wherein the answer is also visible here. So here 34 is the literal. Okay, so any literal that do not have a decimal value is considered to be an integer. And wherein x is a variable, as the name suggests, it's a variable. It's a value. It's a representation name given to a value. At one particular time, it sticks to the value, but at the same time, in the next part, when I say x is equal to 2, then 2 will be assigned to it. Okay, so it keeps on changing its value accordingly. So that's why it's called as variable. Okay, so varying values. It can take varying values. That's why it's called as a variable. I cannot say 2 is equal to x. This is syntactically wrong. Okay, so it's saying syntax error, cannot assign to literal. 2 is 2, right? So you just need to adopt to this. Variable should be on the left side and literal should be on the right side. So I have to say that. And what should be the variable? The variable name should be a valid identifier. So you do have certain rules for writing an identifier. Follow those rules and the identifier will be written. So that's the first statement wherein I just have declared a variable, integer variable. Now let me discuss certain points about the integer. Say for example, okay, so say for example, let me get to this area and let me explain you here. Say for example, there is a data type which is called as an int. Okay, and say int is taking 1 byte of memory, means that it is 8 bits, right? 1 byte is equal to 8 bits. Okay, say for example, that is the case, or else Actually, in Java, we do have byte data type. I do not want to confuse you. So because you don't know Java, so let us take the concept of C programming. Okay, listen to me very carefully. Now, don't tell me that in Python, integer is having 2 bytes and chappakandi. That will be a blunder. Listen to me very carefully. I am giving you an example of C programming. What I am doing now? Somebody repeat.
Giving an example of C programming.
Okay, I'm not talking about Python. Okay, so I'm giving you an example of C programming. In C programming, you do have a data type called int. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. What is the range of integer? So it is the number of bytes, memory representation of integers inside in C programming is 2 bytes. Okay, so 2 bytes ante what it is? It is 16 bits, right? Okay, so this is the memory capacity that an integer needs, allocation that an integer number gets. And coming to the range of integer, okay, so since it is 2 bytes, right? Okay, so it will be range of integer will be so minus 32768 to plus 32767. Okay, 767. So this is 767. Okay, so this is the range of an integer. Now I have written a program. Okay, so I'm saying it's a main. Okay, and main, and then inside main I'm saying int x is equal to so I said 30,002. Is it valid?
Yes, ma'am.
It's valid. Okay, fine. I'm saying 32767. Valid?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I said 32770. Is it valid?
No, ma'am.
It's not valid. Okay, so this is not valid. It's not valid. Why it is not valid? Okay, not valid. Why it is not valid?
Range is only 3 plus 3 to 767.
Range is only till plus 32767, but you have given a value which is beyond the range. So it is not considered to be an integer. So your compiler, which is GCC or whatever, will throw you an error saying that it is out of range. Okay, so this is the scenario in any of the programming languages. Now coming to Python. Okay, so now I am talking about Python. Okay, so now integer, how many bytes of memory do an integer variable takes? Okay, so this is also not defined. And the range, okay, so what is the range of integer? The range of integer is like it is unlimited precision. Okay, so unlimited, meeku opiku ఉన్నన్ని digits ఇచ్చి చేసుకోండి, it will work for you. Okay, so the range of integer is unlimited precision. So you can give how many ever digits you want. మీ ఓపిక మీరు టైప్ చేయండి, మీకు మళ్ళీ టైప్ చేసిన తర్వాత మీకు రిజల్ట్ ఇస్తుంది. So there is no range for integers in Python. Is it clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it is not like how you have seen in C programming, like there is a range for integer and all that. It's not like that. And say for example 78 is an integer. Okay, 90 is an integer. One I said 1 lakh. Okay, whatever it is, this is an integer. Okay, so 777,564, this is an integer. So anything which is not having a decimal point after it is considered to be an integer. Okay, so this is the overall concept of an integer, and let us see how you can write an integer in Python. Okay, fine. So let me get back to your terminal. Well, fine. Okay, so we are in the terminal, and so I'm opening your interactive mode, and I'll show you how to work with integers. So I said x is equal to 89 and this is an integer. And if you want to know like what is the type of this x, okay, so I want to know like what is x of. So you can see that x is a variable, so type is a method, type is a function which will be taking x as an argument in it. So as I have passed x into this type, what it is telling me is, it is telling me that x is of integer type. It belongs to class int. Okay, by using the type function, you can find out to which class it belongs to. Say for example, I'm saying x is equal to, so I said 089. In mathematics, writing a 0 before a number do not have any significance. If even if I write 089, it is considered to be 89 itself. The 0 before it do not have a value. The 0 only after the number have a value which will increase the the unit of a number, but here giving 0 before it do not have a value. Okay, so it doesn't make any difference to the number. But let us see whether it works in Python or not. So you can see that it is giving me a syntax error saying that invalid token. Okay, so you cannot give a 0 before an integer. Why you cannot give a 0 before an integer is that there are different ways of representing a number. Okay, so you can represent it in binary, or you can represent it in hexadecimal, or else you can also represent it in octal. All these variants of representing a decimal number is there. 89 is a decimal number. Okay, so 89 is a decimal number. Whenever you have numbers from 0 to 9, okay, digits from 0 to 9 in a number, then it is considered to be a decimal number. So of course 89 is a decimal number, which means base 10. But whenever you're giving a 0 before it, it means that 0 followed by an x. Okay, 0 followed by an x or 0 followed by a small x represents a hexadecimal number. Okay, before it. So it represents an hexadecimal number. So you cannot give a 0 before it. Okay, before a number of an integer. So you cannot give a 0. Because 0 has a prominence. Whenever there is a 0, it will look for whether the next digit is X or B or O and all that. And in the similar way, if it is 0 O or capital O, 0 and capital O, it represents an octal number. So 0 has that significance. And if it is 0 B or 0 capital B, it represents a binary number. So numbers you can also represent a number in hexadecimal or octal or binary. So wherein you will be preceding or prefixing the number with a 0x if it is hexadecimal, and 0O if it is an octal number, and 0B if it is a binary number. So if you're putting a 0, the compiler will check whether there is some X or O or B after it. So it has got some predefined meaning if there is a 0. So you cannot give a 0 before an integer number. Okay, so that will actually give you a syntactical error. And coming to the next case, can I say, for example, I'm having a very long number like this, 7, 8, 9 and all this. So it becomes very difficult for me in case if I am representing it as a financial entity. Maybe it is representing a product price or whatever, or it is representing something else. So a stock market, something. This thing is not quite readable for me. Okay, so if I just have to spell the number, it is not very readable for me. So to make it more readable, to know like how many digits are there and all that, you can include an underscore to represent a number only to increase the readability of the code. So I can say 23 an underscore, 45 an underscore, and then I can say 67 and an underscore, and 90 and an underscore. So then I can say 86 and then underscore, and then 105. So this kind of representation I can do, so that where the numbers are separated properly based on my requirement, And you can see that the readability of the code have improved now, better than the previous case, wherein here you are able to know like what is the value of it or how many digits are there. So it is pretty much clear. But when I try to print the value of x, will this underscores be printed? No, the underscores will not be printed, because these underscores are not used in the number. It is just used to enhance the readability of the user, whoever it is. Okay, the programmer wants to know like what is the number, wants to represent it in a more readable way. So we just can include underscores over here. That's it. Okay. So other than that, it doesn't represent anything. While considering this x number, okay. So while considering this x in an expression for calculations, or when considering this x in any other calculations, or while printing it, the underscores will be simply ignored and the number will be printed. Now, what will happen if I put an underscore at the end? So far, you can see that I have placed underscores in between the numbers, but I haven't put anything after the number. So I have put one underscore after 105, and let us see what will happen. So it is saying that there is a syntax error, that you cannot put an underscore after the number. Okay, putting an underscore after the number will actually give you a syntax error. In the similar way, let me put an underscore before this 23. Okay, so I have put an underscore before this 23, and then let me try to execute it. So once I executed it, it is telling me that underscore in the beginning is not defined. So you cannot put an underscore in the beginning of the number. ఒక్క నిమిషం ఉండండి అమ్మా. ఆబ్జెక్ట్ ఓరియంటెడ్ జావానా? Girls, are you following me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are you able to understand?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, fine. Okay, right. So this is not possible. You cannot give an underscore in the beginning of the number. You cannot give an underscore at the end of the number, but in between the number, like you can give an underscore. Now I'll do another thing. So I'll give two underscores over here. Okay, so 1 and 2 underscores, and let us check what it is telling me. So it is telling me that it is an invalid token. So you cannot have two underscores. If you want to separate the numbers, where exactly you need to use the underscores is that you can use the underscores in between the numbers, not before the number and after the number. And you can have only one underscore. Okay, right. So this is regarding representing it, and you cannot have a zero before the number. So this is again will lead into an invalid syntax. Okay, fine. And so that's it regarding an integer. Okay, fine. And let us move on into the float type. Okay, so what we have done here is, so in integers, how do you represent? So I'm saying x is equal to 89, and to check on the type of the integer variable, I'm passing this variable into a function which is called as type function, and this is telling me that this is of class integer. Okay, so this is the output we are getting, and we saw like what can be the syntax errors that you can make while representing an integer. So giving a 0 before a number or decimal number will lead to a syntax error, and as well as giving a space. For example, I am giving a space. Okay, so I said 23 space or 456. So rather than giving an underscore, I'm just giving a space. Okay, so this again is an invalid syntax. You can only include underscores. You cannot include a space, or you can also not include a semicolon. Okay, so all this will lead into a syntax error. Okay, just hold on. I'll come back to you.